The White House Correspondents Dinner, an alleged attempt on President Donald Trump's life, took place at the Washington Hilton, roughly a mile and a half northwest of the White House. In 1981, it was the site of another assassination attempt when John Hinckley shot President Ronald Reagan. There are 10 stories above ground and over 1,100 guest rooms. On the first floor is the hotel's lobby. One level below that, there's the terrace level. And one level below that is the concourse level and the ballroom. That's where the White House Correspondents' Dinner happens. Here's what appears to have gone down that night. The suspect, Cole Allen, was staying on the 10th floor. In this photo he took of himself that night, you can see he has a pistol, ammunition, and multiple knives strapped to his body and a satchel strung over his shoulder. The shotgun he was arrested with isn't visible here. Downstairs in the lobby, guests, including cabinet officials, had begun arriving, all smiles, for the pre-dinner festivities. Here's a map of the terrace floor of the hotel. The ballroom's here, one floor down. And on the other side of the hotel is the gym and a set of stairs that Allen allegedly used to travel from the 10th floor to the terrace level.
These are the stairs that the gunman used to come from the 10th floor where he was staying down to the terrace level of the hotel.
No footage has been released and likely doesn't exist of him traveling from his room down those stairs. A CCTV camera positioned inside of the gym captured him exiting the door from those stairs at 8:23 p.m. Another CCTV camera captured him walking down the hall a few seconds later. You can see he's wearing a long trench coat that's likely concealing his weapons, including his shotgun. Now, at this point, he's outside of the Secret Service security perimeter. Keith Wojcicki is a former Secret Service agent with the Presidential Protective Division.
You can see he's obviously holding the shotgun on the right-hand side there.
You notice his right arm is very stiff.
Yes, exactly, because he's hiding something. He's holding something tight to his body. What that is, we know now, but again, that was definitely a shotgun. And seeing that, maybe should have set off flares outside of the Hilton. There are reconnaissance people out there.
Then there's a gap of around 13 minutes, and authorities haven't said what the suspect was doing during that time.
This is the hallway that the gunman used to travel toward the security checkpoint on the night of the attack. For 13 minutes, his movements went undetected by cameras, apparently.
In fact, we found a significant portion of the terrace level had no CCTV camera coverage at all. Would there have been Secret Service agents outside of the security perimeter around the Hilton, say in this hallway?
Potentially, but definitely there are Secret Service agents as well as law enforcement outside the perimeter just doing that, looking and making sure and observing to see if anything suspicious does occur.
If there were, none of them apparently stopped him. Around 8:30 p.m., Secret Service agents are dismantling the security checkpoint equipment. Allen finally appears on camera, and he walks through a set of doors to a lobby area with a bank of elevators that leads to the event's red carpet and a hotel entrance. An officer, accompanied by his canine police dog, appears to follow him for a brief period. But just as his handler turns away, Allen bolts through the door, having stripped off his trench coat. Let's take a closer look at the officer and the dog's reaction again. Secret Service canines are trained to sniff for bombs, improvised explosives, not ammunition or suspicious people. If police dogs smell an explosive, they sit down to alert the handler. The officer who's handling the canine does appear to be looking at Allen. It's not clear why he doesn't spot him removing his trench coat. Now, a camera should have captured Allen removing the coat, but that night drapes were put up for the event, and they actually blocked that camera's view. A few seconds later, the agent turns around. Allen exits, then runs through a still-assembled magnetometer and appears to raise his shotgun. Authorities allege he fires in the direction of an officer who almost simultaneously fires back 5 times. This photo of a spent shotgun shell was released by the Department of Justice. Watching that frame by frame, you can see the officer's arm begin moving toward his gun while Allen is still several feet away from the magnetometer.
The officer here is actually reaching for his weapon as he notices a shotgun within 2 seconds. That's pretty phenomenal, that reaction time. The other individuals, again, they're just caught off guard.
As Allen passes through it, both he and the officer have their weapons pointed at each other. This is the moment that the DOJ says he fires, but the camera doesn't capture a muzzle flash. Still, the lights immediately become hazy, which is an indicator of gun smoke. You can see the flash from the officer's gun 4 frames later. Then a second, and a third flash, barely missing his colleagues. As Allen's about to leave the camera's view, his body's leaning forward at about a 45-degree angle. Off camera, Allen falls, and agents and officers move in and arrest him.
What do you make of the fact that he tripped and then law enforcement was able to respond and to tackle him?
I think it's actually great that it happened, right? He's overrunning his own speed, his balance. He's probably not used to running with a weapon or anything that he's carrying. So he's lost his balance, which is really good. Then law enforcement apprehended him immediately.
Within 10 seconds, you can see what appears to be knives or clips slid across the floor. That's an indication that officers are stripping the suspect, removing his weapons. Allen's later seen in this photo handcuffed without his shirt on.
You see that .38 caliber that they said he saw, maybe a knife.
There are at least 2 weapons that are
Correct.
removed right away. So at that point, we know that agents are working on that individual.
Right, they apprehended him.
The government alleges he was headed to a set of stairs here, which led down to the concourse level and just steps away from the ballroom. That would have put him here, at the entrance to the ballroom, and about 150 feet from where President Donald Trump was sitting on stage here. President Trump says he wants to redo the White House Correspondents Dinner in the next month.
Should this security perimeter have been larger?
You know, it's a phenomenal question, right? Just the way it happened, the quickness, the speed, they reacted as quick as they can. It's the proactive that you want to be able to be successful at. Now, if I were to do it over again, I took a look at this and said, okay, I was walking the site when I was there, I would be wondering, okay, who's at that door? Is there someone at that door? Because even though we have a protective security element here, what's behind that door? You never want anyone coming out from a door of an unknown location. And we saw earlier that he had a shotgun on his right side. Why wasn't that detected? That would be my biggest question, is outside the perimeter, who was looking, who was watching, who did not notice him at that point?
We reached out to both the Secret Service and Hilton Security for comment. The Secret Service told CBS News in a statement that, quote, the secure perimeter was established so that any movement from a public area into the protected site required screening at designated outer checkpoints, and that while the existing security plan was effective in deterring the identified threat, the Secret Service continually evaluates its protective operations to identify improvements. Hilton Security has not yet responded. Nicole Skanga, CBS News, Washington.